A very good evening and welcome to this Sunday's edition of News First Weekend, coming to you live from our News First studios in Colombo. I'm Arundhati Mudannaika. Let's take a look at the stories making headlines this evening.
Heavy showers continue. Lowlands inundated. Prime Minister prepared to offer clarifications at any time to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry. Scam at the Ministry of Buddha Sasana under the guise of an English diploma. Suicide bomb attack in Mogadishu kills 85 and injures 100.
Stories in detail now. Issuing a media release, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe says that he is prepared to offer clarifications at any time to the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into bond auctions.
The release notes that the Prime Minister expressed this sentiment in view of references made about him during proceedings of the Commission. The release further notes that the government will investigate allegations made against it or its employees, adding that the Prime Minister's office assures the public that the government will carry out its mandate to establish democracy and ensure good governance.
Now, convening a media briefing this evening, the Anti-Corruption Front commented on the statement issued by the Prime Minister's office.
විශේෂ ජනාධිපති කමිෂන් සභාව හරහා අපි දැක්කා.
We saw how Ministers Malik Samaravikram and Kabir Hashim gave evasive statements at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry and got out of it. The Prime Minister has acted on several occasions to cover up the bond scam. One instance was when he made a statement in Parliament that he was directly involved as the subject minister. When the fraud was revealed to the country, he appointed a committee of 3 lawyers. This committee reached the conclusion that there was no scam or fraud in the bond issuance. Our problem is this. The Prime Minister has become agitated now and is willingly coming forward to testify before the Bond Commission. He is now trying to preempt the allegation that will be levelled at him and portray himself as a clean person.
ඔහුට එල්ලවෙන චෝදනාව එල්ලවීමට පෙර ඔහු ඉදිරිපත් වෙලා තමන් සුදනෙක් බව.
The Badrikama Asana Bala Mandalaya of the UNP was set up today under the auspices of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
2014 රටේ ණය ප්‍රශ්නේ විසඳන්න බැරුව ණය ගෙවන්න.
In 2014, they did not have a solution for the debt crisis in the country. President Mahinda Rajapaksa fled because of this. We state this openly. It is not a secret. He wouldn't have held the election if he could have paid. We know that we cannot do everything as soon as we come in. First, we have to pay the loans. We diverted all our money for this purpose. We are now trying to drive economic growth by encouraging private investments. We have focused on developing Gaul. We want to create industries as well as develop the tourism sector. We will also launch the Singharaja development project to drive more tourism traffic to this area. We want to conserve the Singharaja forest while create an additional revenue stream.
Singharaja ආරක්ෂා කළා සිංහරාජයෙන් ජීවත් වෙන්න පුළුවන් තවත් සංචාරක මාර්ගයක් අපි ඇති කරනවා.
අද රටේ නිදහසක් නැද්ද? උද්ඝෝෂණ තියෙනවා.
Isn't there freedom in this country? There are protests. The government doesn't attack protesters. We saw Namal Rajapaksa saying that he is a political prisoner. He says he went to law college, but everyone knows how he became a lawyer. How can he be a political prisoner? A court order was issued stating that a protest can't be held. He holds a protest regardless, and when the police take action, he claims he is a political prisoner. He is training.
The joint opposition hosted a conference at the Tengol Urban Council auditorium today under the theme Protect National Resources, Stop the Political Witch Hunt. Here are some of the views expressed at the event.
They are giving the Hambantota port to China and the Mattala airport to India. They will sign ETCA, divide the country, hand over the port, and then Ranil. What will be left to give? Ranil has nothing of his own to give. And then they carry out the perfect robbery. Make inquiries from Sirikota. All the international bank robbers are there. Mr. Chairman, Somalia is known as the country of sea pirates, and Sri Lanka will be known as the country of bank robbers.
ලංකාවට කියනවා බැංකු කොල්ලකාරයන්ගේ රට. ලෝකයේ මහා බැංකුවක් සුද්ධ කරපු එකම නායකයා ඉන්න රට තමයි ශ්‍රී ලංකාව. ඒ වෙන කවුරු?
Sri Lanka is the only country in the world with a leader who cleaned out the central bank. He is none other than Ranil Wickremesinghe. But they tell the whole world that they did not rob the bank. RK was mentioned and Ravi Karunanayake resigned. PM was also mentioned, but the PM is still at large. Malik and Kabir went and came out free. Arjun goes in, refuses to testify and comes out free.
Following the conference, a group of joint opposition activists staged silent protests in the Tengol town.
අපි කියනවා පැහැදිලිවම මේ ආණ්ඩුව මේ කරන්නේ දේශපාලන දඩයමක් මේ දඩයමට විරුද්ධව අපි
We say clearly that the government is engaged in a political witch hunt. We will continue to take steps against this witch hunt. At the same time, we condemn those police officers who salute those who rob the central bank when they are leaving the commission and have instead enforced the law against Namal Rajapaksa and others.
නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන එක පිළිබඳව අපි දැඩිසේ පිළිකුලෙන් යුතුව හෙලා දකිනවා.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived at the Tengol prison today to meet parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa, and a group of politicians were remanded in connection to the protest in Hambantota.
Our young politicians, old mothers and young children have been remanded because they protested against the sale of our assets. The people have a right to express their views. The case will be taken up tomorrow and I believe that justice will be served. An airport controls a large airspace. This could end up becoming a large issue in the future.
With the flu, මේකම පාලනය කරන්නේ නුවන්තොටුපොළේ අවසානයේ. ඒක ලොකු ගැටලුවක් වෙනවා අනාගතේ.
Following an event held in Hanguranketa today, Treasurer of the SLFP Minister Esbit Sanaika expressed these views on the clash of opinions within the party.
There is a group of SLFPers in the opposition under the leadership of Mahinda Rajapaksa. He wants to defeat the SLFP. Earlier we said step aside and nominate Chamal Rajapaksa as the prime ministerial candidate. Allow President Maithripala Sirisena to lead the election campaign. We could have won. It was Mahinda Rajapaksa who lost this opportunity. Now he is trying to defeat the SLFP through the Pohot tour. They want to give the UNP a chance this time around, and when the next round of elections come along, he will put one of his sons into the leadership role. This is a traitorous act to the nation, the party, as well as the party faithful.
The National Building Research Organisation notes that the landslide warnings issued to 6 districts remain in place due to persistent showers. However, senior geologist of the NBRO Gamini Chatisa notes that the risk of landslides in the districts of Nur Elia, Kegol, Kalutara, Gaul, Mathura and Ratnapura have reduced as the amount of rainfall to the areas have decreased. Nadeem Majid joins us from the newsroom with more details.
Well, I'm taking some time off the business and politics circuit to bring you some important news on the weather front. This low-pressure system that you see here, that's the culprit behind the extreme weather conditions that we've been seeing over the past few days. The Indian meteorological authorities are warning that over the next 48 hours, this could intensify into a depression, and that around the 19th, it may make landfall around the states of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha. This is what has been causing the heavy showers that we've been seeing across the island in Sri Lanka as well. An important thing to keep in mind, this period, October to November, is the intermonsoonal season. The country receives about 30% of its annual rainfall during this season. The Director General of the Met Department here in Sri Lanka, speaking to News First, noted that given the current sort of abnormalities that we're seeing in the weather pattern, this intermonsoonal season could be further delayed, which would not be great news for the country's farmers, for agricultural production, especially in the Rajarata and in the eastern provinces.
The Atamagas Junction and Dambala areas along the Bulat Sinhala Molakawa main road have been inundated due to the Kukule Ganga overflowing. Boats as well as navy vessels were used in the area this morning for transport. The Galyakala area along the Bulat Sinhala Varakagoda main road has been submerged due to the Kudaganga overflowing. Low-lying areas and farmland in the Maduravala, Anguruvatota and Varakagoda areas have been inundated due to the Kalu river overflowing. The water level of the Gin River had reached the flood level as of this afternoon. Meanwhile, fishermen refrained from setting out to sea through the Hikkadua and Balapitia harbours due to rough seas. Heavy showers in catchment areas had resulted in the water levels of hydropower plant reservoirs increasing. One spill gate of the Kotmale reservoir was opened this afternoon. The Vimala Surendra Reservoir has been overflowing since yesterday. Water levels of the Devon and St. Clair waterfalls in the Nuwara Eliya and Hatton districts have also increased. Several roads in the Deniaya and Kotapola areas in the Mathura district have been inundated due to heavy showers in the area. This is the manner in which the Kumburupitiya Hontugoda road and the Akurasa Kadduva road were inundated. Our correspondent also noted that crocodile activity in the Nilbala river has increased as the water level of the river is rising. This was the situation of the Daraniyagala Kalanivatu road yesterday as the water levels of the Kalani river rose.
Meanwhile, the Road Development Authority, or RDA, is warning that motorists using the expressways should reduce speed to 60 kilometers per hour in the event of rain. Stay tuned with the News First Weather Center. We'll be bringing you the updates on the extreme weather situation as and when they unfold.
Well, thank you, Nadi, for bringing us the comprehensive details of the weather that is affecting the island. And time for a short commercial break. Stay with News First. We will be right back. Sunday Times, quoting a new team appointed by the chairman of the RDA, reports that Sri Lanka's expressways do not require a public-private partnership type financial model.
Namini Vijaydas, writing an article to Sunday Times, says the committee that was appointed as per the instructions of the Cabinet Committee on Economic Management was set up in response to strong opposition by unions to a Ministry of Highways plan to hand over expressway operations and management to a Chinese company. The Sunday Times has obtained a copy of its report. The report concludes the analysis does not warrant going for PPP type financial model. However, PPP can be formed for investment in expressways between the RDA and the state-owned Bank of Ceylon. The RDA chairman formed this team and instructed them to study the income generation of expressways since inception, the maintenance cost and other relevant expenditure, the maintenance plan for the next 10 years and the adequacy of revenue to meet the above cost. The committee states the expressways will generate a positive net cash flow every year between 2017 and 2027. However, the government has expressed the importance of establishing private-public partnerships in the past. Speaking at the Asia Pacific Business Forum that opened in Dhaka on the 8th of February this year, Commerce Minister Ishad Badiuddin expressed the views of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe to switch to privately funded PPPs.
The Prime Minister repeatedly spoke about an entrepreneurship involving both the state and private sector. Turning this stance around, there is a committee report saying that this can only be done by the state sector. The people of this country knows what the state sector is made of. Take a look at the state airlines and Air Lanka. Who is controlling these institutions? In the past, we saw brothers-in-law, relatives, brothers and good friends controlling these institutions. As civil societies, we are suspicious as to if this is another attempt to distribute state assets and funds among relatives and friends.
Up next is a look at Action TV.
Teachers at Dhamma schools across the Kurunegala district are in possession of a certificate which shows that the Deputy Minister of Buddha Sasana has taken on the additional responsibility of promoting English language education. About 700 Dhamma school teachers received these certificates at an event held at the BMICH in Colombo on the 2nd of this month. Since the certificate mentions that the course is a diploma, the event in question can be considered a convocation of sorts. Dhamma school teachers in the Kurunegala district were made to enroll for the course under the Attorney-at-Law Sarathi Dushmanta English Promoting Program, in line with this letter which arrived at all Dhamma schools in the district on the 6th of March. The letter notes that the course will be conducted free of charge, with 3 days allocated for English grammar exercises and 7 days for oral exercises. According to the letter, the course is being conducted under the sponsorship of the Ministry of Justice and Buddha Sasana. Since a certain private institution which conducts English language training for the public service is conducting this course as well, the letter also provides the address of the website of the institution so candidates can find out more. On the 22nd of March, more than 1,000 Dhamma school teachers arrived at a private hall in Kurunegala following the instructions contained in this letter and registered for the English language course, paying a fee of 500 rupees each for their identification cards. Since then, lectures were held for 21 days and not 10 days as indicated in the letter, charging each student 100 rupees for each lecture. Subsequently, each student was made to pay 400 rupees for examination fees. Of the more than 1,000 individuals who enrolled for the course, only about 700 showed up for the examination. Incidentally, all of the students who sat the examination passed the course. Several bhikkhus who serve as chief advisors to prominent Dhamma schools in the country also attended the convocation held on the 2nd of this month in Colombo against a backdrop where the initial letter dated March 6th had indicated that the event would be held with much pomp and pageantry. Given the information that has already come to light, it will come as no surprise that each of the more than 700 students who passed the course were required to pay a fee for the convocation, amounting to 5,500 rupees each. I too was present at this inefficient and unpleasant event, since several teachers from our Dhamma school were also participating. From what I saw, it is evident that the event was organized by a group of people who had never attended a convocation in their lives. The individual inspecting the tickets at the entrance to the hall and the teacher who taught the course were the ones who presented the certificates. At the same time, you can see that this certificate does not mention a name or any other information. You can write down any name you wish. They were also instructed to come to the classroom to have their names printed. You can even mark A, B, C or D as per your own wish on this certificate. No one failed this course. Even people who are dead could have undertaken this course. Everyone received a certificate. We have a right to speak on their behalf, and on behalf of all the Dhamma school teachers in the country, I condemn this distasteful endeavor. Given the farcical and fraudulent manner in which this course was carried out, if the Deputy Minister of Buddha Sasana has any involvement in this, it is also possible that a similar course may be designed for the legal profession. This is because he also holds the portfolio of Deputy Minister of Justice. Shouldn't immediate steps be taken to prevent such a course from being created and enforce the law against those who sought to defraud Dhamma school teachers who volunteer their services towards the betterment of the children of this country? Minister of Justice, over to you.
The Ministry of Hindu Religious Affairs organized an event in Colombo today ahead of Deepavali, or the Hindu Festival of Lights, which falls on the 18th of this month. A distinguished gathering including President Maithripala Sirisena, politicians and diplomats graced the occasion. Speaking at the event, Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe commented on the reconciliation effort.
We have entered into a period where we are on a path to reconciliation. We have to now use this coming year to try and conclude these discussions and come to a final arrangement on the Sri Lankanness, on the diversity, on the tolerance and the right to safeguard our own cultures that we want.
Today is World White Cane Day, which is dedicated to the visually impaired. Speaking at an event held today, the chairman of the Elections Commission, Mahinda Deshapriya, offered new hope for the visually impaired in Sri Lanka.
Many people have asked us whether they can vote using Braille. Having considered this, we reached the conclusion that it would be sufficient if stencils are provided when ballots are marked. We can allow for this to be used at the presidential election or at a referendum. In the future, if we switch to an electronic voting system, then we can emboss the buttons and enable you to vote by touch. I believe that all of you will be able to vote on your own without anyone's assistance in another 7 to 8 years. It is not only the visually impaired who have special needs. There are those who are hard of hearing and those whose motor skills have been impaired. There are elderly people like us who have aches in their knee joints and people who require wheelchairs. The Elections Commission is discussing solutions for them too. Deshapriya made this statement in Ratmalana at an event organized by the Sri Lanka Visually Impaired Graduates Council to celebrate White Cane Day. The nearby junction is called the Deaf and Blind Junction. It is almost like an insult. If we are to be considered in how we treat them, we must remove such references. Some games that we play too can be insulting to them. An MP said recently in Parliament that the government is like the school for the deaf and blind. This is a massive insult. Did he not have any other metaphor? Did he have to drag them into it? Meanwhile, a sports event was held in Colombo today for the disabled. The event was organized by the Friends in Need Society.
The foundation stone was laid for the Grama Shakti model village in Julpalama Maharame, parallel to White Cane Day. The event was held under the auspices of Minister of Housing and Construction and UNP Deputy Leader Sachit Premdasa.
The proposed village has been named Sianetugama. The village, which will comprise of 29 homes when completed, is the 469th model village to be constructed under the Samata Sevana Udagamana project. A total of 14.5 million rupees is being spent on the construction of this village, which has been allocated for families of the visually impaired. Incidentally, it was late President Ranasinghe Premadasa who built the first village dedicated to the visually impaired. As my father built the Nayana Loka village, at this instance, with the blessings of His Excellency the President and the Prime Minister of the Good Governance Government, I named this village Sianetugama. It is my hope to build many more villages like Sianetugama across the country. No government in our history has ever turned their attention towards the visually impaired. The Government of Good Governance is committed to give the highest priority to the visually impaired community.
අපේ යහපාලන රජය සත්‍ය වශයෙන්ම අපට වෙනවයි කියන එක මම මේ අවස්ථාවේ
6 persons suffered injuries when a van fell off a precipice in the Maliapur area in Hatton. The van had been plying from Colombo to Hatton at around 6 a.m. when the accident occurred. According to the police, the van plunged down a 100-foot precipice and landed in the Hatton Oya. Area residents and the police worked tirelessly to save the passengers from the van. The injured have been admitted to the Dikhoya Hospital in Hatton. Initial investigations have revealed that the accident occurred as a result of the driver falling asleep at the wheel. A vehicle that was stolen from the Badul area several days was recovered from Jaila today.
The vehicle had been stolen on the 9th of this month from the residence of a lawyer in Passara Badulla. Police discovered the vehicle abandoned along the Nigambu Jaila main road following a tip-off. The police had been informed as the car had been at the same location for several days. Documents and books belonging to the lawyer were discovered inside the vehicle. The Criminal Investigations Department and the Jaila police have launched an investigation to locate the suspects connected to the theft.
Parliamentarian Nalin Bandara, attending a function held in Kurunagal, expressed these views.
We saw that the President engaged in a tour of the north yesterday. There were a group of Tamils who were protesting, calling on prisoners to be freed. You can see how fearless he is. He got down from his vehicle and spoke with the protesters. He made a very important statement to the people of the north. He said that if the current leaders, if the current president is changed, then the next person who takes over will be a devil. This statement has a deep meaning.
And in sports news this evening, Hong Kong bested Sri Lanka once again as the two teams locked horns in the Asian Sevens series in Colombo today.
The game was worked off at the racecourse grounds in Colombo. Sri Lanka, competing in Group A of the series alongside South Korea, China and Chinese Taipei, took on Malaysia this morning. The scores were level at half-time, but a dominant performance in the second half saw the Tuskers advancing to the semi-final round with a score of 22-5 at the long whistle. Sri Lanka were pitted against Hong Kong in the semi-final round, which was worked off this evening. Hong Kong took an early lead, scoring twice in the second half before Sri Lanka managed to get on the scoreboard. At half-time, the visitors led 19-5. The Tuskers did manage to increase their tally to 12 points in the second half, but conceded 7 more points to Hong Kong and failed to come out on top. The game ended with a score of 26-12 in favour of Hong Kong.
And with that, we wrap up tonight's edition of Weekend Primetime News. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Arundhati Mudarnaik. Good night.